Hello, good evening, and welcome to a special, a Taco Tuesday edition of the Dos a Cero Football Podcast. We are actually broadcasting live on Tuesday tonight because we thought it would be a good opportunity to, we'll be honest, to get a bigger audience because it's right after the Mexico-Panama friendly that was just played in Bridgeport, Illinois, just outside of Chicago, the greater Chicagoland area, won by Mexico 1-0. Goal scored by Oribe Peralta on the second half. We'll discuss this game and the previous game and the state of the team and the regime in general. And we would like to be able to invite you guys to join us tonight, but this is we won't be able to have that capability. But we would certainly welcome your questions on the chat there on the YouTube, where we are broadcasting live. And of course, you can also listen to this edition and previous editions of the podcast downloaded on iTunes or the Podcast Center. My name is John Jagu. Really appreciate you guys joining us this evening. We have a full panel with us, including some folks that were actually at the game in Chicago. So we'll get some firsthand analysis from our resident coach, Juan Uribe. He'll be joining us here shortly. But let's get right to it. Let's get to our distinguished panel of guests. First, we have in Escondido, California, we have Daniel Preciado. Daniel, how are you this evening, sir?
Doing well. I know I'm on the West Coast, but I'm actually kind of sleepy. But the game, I guess, didn't help.
Yeah, it was definitely ambient induced. There's no question, but we'll get into that a little bit. Good to have you on with us, Dan.
Good to be
over in Kyle, Texas, which is just on the other side of Travis County where I am. There's, of course, our technical director, who was not in Kyle. He's actually in Florida, but he still was able to hook everything up for us tonight, as usual. Albert El Chiquis Campa, how are you, sir?
Hey, doing good. What's going on?
Things are going well. Mexico won both games. I don't know if that really means anything. I think at this point you're looking to see if they can actually string passes together, which they seem to do. There was a certain player who looked to shoulders above the rest. We'll discuss that more at length here in a little bit. Let's also introduce Phoenix, Arizona, the Senator, Fernando Regino. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How about you? I'm glad to be here today.
Yes, you're actually answering my question. You dodge all my questions, Senator. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thank you, Senator. Thank you for joining us as always. Over in South Central, we have with us. Good evening, Joel. Did you get to watch the games, Joel, or were you?
No, I did, sir. I saw both halves.
You saw both halves.
Yes.
Glad
the
to hear
full
it.
match.
And your immediate impression probably be the same as my immediate
I
impression.
got flashbacks of the previous hexagonal with Mexico struggling with the bunker.
Well, they're always going to do that. That's never going to change. But we'll discuss some things that were done and could be done if they have the city to pull it off. And the gentleman who was at the game, and I'm hoping that he can is at a point where he can talk to us at least for a little bit before he goes back and delves in. He's actually covering the game for the Dos a Cero Football Podcast and SoccerChronicle.com. Of course, we're talking about Juan Uribe. Juan, are you able to talk to us right now, or are you just listening? Hear me, Juan, knock once. If you can't hear me, knock twice.
I think he's busy listening to.
He must be knocking at us. Well, he will give us his full report as soon as he's able to connect. And of course, over in Philadelphia, a gentleman who has decided to spend the majority of this podcast listening to his Lord and Master, Hugo Sanchez. Maybe we'll get some interjections from Ronnie DeLuna as well. So thank you guys for joining us here on the Dos a Cero Football Podcast. Again, we welcome any and all questions. Ronnie, did you have your quick initial thoughts in like 15 seconds or less? Go.
I just saw a little bit of the game. I thought it was kind of boring from what I saw.
Yeah, it was. They were having a hard time stringing some passes together. There's no question. I think that we saw that in both games. I mean, I couldn't imagine why. I mean, it's not as if these players have played together for over the past 3 years. So I don't know why you'd want to use those guys, the guys that actually know each other. But there's only the matter of your biggest game of your career coming up. Want to prepare for that somewhat. It doesn't seem like there was much preparation going on at all, and maybe it was an elaborate smokescreen. I really don't know, but the reality is that Mexico beat New Zealand 2-1, and then they beat Panama 1-0, and Giovanni Dos Santos was the 2 games go, at least in my opinion. It's probably the most active player. I mean, he was involved in all 3 goals. I'm not sure exactly if that's true or not, but
What's more important is that Osorio's record is still only one loss and only 2 ties in a row
yes,
for
yes.
wins.
Thank God for that. Thank God for that. I think that's the first thing he said in the press conference. Said I still have only lost 1 game. I know it was 7-0, but please understand it was only that 1 game. So please, your righteous indignation and
Yes,
your know-it-all opinions, because I'm still. That was exactly
He's
what he
not
said.
he's not reading people's opinions though, John. In his last interview, he said he only catches about 5% of it. So
Really, that to me tells me that he catches about 95% of it. That's probably all he does all day long.
well,
Is
if you
he
look at
probably
his
does
you
like
look at his face, he looks like he's wearing it pretty hard now. That beard just
well,
makes him look like he's like said F it.
well,
that beard is interesting.
the poor guy, he's getting Bora Milutinovic, he's being bashed in the press even though he has a good record, and he's breaking records with La Selección.
Just the fact that you mentioned Juan Carlos Osorio in the same and breath as what I'm Milutinovic is just it's so insulting. Seriously.
Well, he had a great record back in '98, and unfortunately, he got canned. That was, well, '97 actually, and that was one of the most disgraceful firings of a coach who had a great record of our times. That was probably the biggest injustices, and it looks like they're laying the groundwork to do the same to
Burn,
Osorio
Burn. He got sacked because he tied the U.S. and Costa Rica.
in Costa Rica.
No, in the Azteca, he couldn't beat them. I wouldn't have sacked him, but your great record was he couldn't beat those teams, which it's
Yeah, but
unforgivable. It's
he was
unforgivable.
he was already qualified to
Not for both games.
to the World Cup. He was already qualified, and
In Fernando's defense, all he needed was a tie when they played the U.S. at the Azteca.
exactly they qualified to
However,
that
the
game.
U.S. was played a much better game. I mean, Mexico was lucky to tie because they didn't do anything uh, to get the qualification after that.
Just like
So
today, they didn't do much in the whole first half, and then the
But they got
second
the
half,
win,
they,
man.
You know what I liked? Bolillo had the 3-player rotaciones, and that led to Mexico's goal.
that screwed them. But also on the other side, Osorio had like three rotaciones as well,
Yeah, but not
including the guy who drove it down the field in Chucky to make the pass to Gio and then the assist.
yeah, but did he make them before the match, before the start of the half, or
He made it.
during?
He made it right at the half.
Yeah, but it's different. You're already playing. That threw them off.
well, on Univision right now they're saying el Tri gana pero no gusta su juego. So they're already the public has spoken. It was might say fue una gris actuación, una gris actuación.
That's exactly what I'm saying. They're doing the exact same thing that they did to Bora. They're laying the groundwork again. It's just
Yeah, but Bora at least Bora
disgraceful.
had nothing to stand on. I mean, unfortunately, so there's no. He has to come. Unfortunately, needs better results
and he needs
Well,
better optics than Bora ever needed.
but for right now, though, John, he needs one key victory, and I think that'll give him a little bit of breathing room. If he pulls the win off in Columbus, then not all is forgiven, but it'll go a long way.
Of course, but I mean, in your heart of hearts, Dan, do you honestly think that that's what's going to happen?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
And
Well,
not because he's bad or anything, just because it's just no one's been able to do it. So why should this time be any different? Now, I'm not saying I don't necessarily think they're going to lose, but
You know why it's going to be different? Because we got Osorio as a coach, and he is an awesome coach who's been breaking records.
I would say
it only makes sense that he will break this record also.
They have a better chance of winning right now, I think, but then because I think there's I personally think there's a clear, distinct difference in talent between the two squads. So I think that ultimately it's got a potential of giving them an edge.
Well, if you watch the New Zealand and U.S. game today, New Zealand was dominating the U.S. in the second half for a large part of it, and then all of a sudden U.S. comes back and starts getting really close to it.
But a lot of those guys aren't going to be playing either, though. So it's kind of like
Fernando, about Osorio being a great coach. I don't think he's going to last, dude. I hate to bring it up, but the Chile game, I think it ruined everything for him. He got the locker room talked that day.
No, I agree. It was a pretty big setback, and I do agree with that. That was one of the worst. It would have been
he got raped.
Manageable if he lost 1-0, 2-0, but
he lost. And Chile's coach had only been in the job for 1 month.
I know.
Yeah, but he also won La Copa America, so with 1 month, I
know, but see, if we draw parallels, he didn't try to reinvent the Chile team. He saw what worked. He saw what worked, and he kept it.
Osorio he actually did. That's how Osorio beat him in the first game, and that's.
You're talking about a friendly game now.
How are they doing in qualifying right now? I just think it's kind of pointless to start looking at these kinds of scenarios. The point is they won
Chile
that game.
is currently in 7th place. They are outside of the qualification
zone. That's what I thought. So I mean,
look, hey,
they're not 7 goals better than Mexico. They're just not. They had a really good game. Mexico had a terrible game. A lot of things went wrong, and it's just unforgivable. That's just the way it is.
Look, I said this, and I said this. I know that Chile is going to be just the flavor of the month. I'm not buying the hype. But having said that, okay, and I think, Joel was spot on his analysis, of Osorio when he's saying that he's trying to get cute with the defense. To me, that's a spot on, analytical, he's trying to get cute with the defense, dude. I mean, those holes were open since the Uruguay game. Who was it? Jamaica exposed them. Then who did they play after Jamaica?
Everybody has exposed them. Venezuela exposed them. Chile exposed them. I mean, New Zealand exposed them on Saturday night.
Yeah. So
Panama would have exposed them, but they were too busy bunkering. And
so
at times they did press and pressure their defense. It worked a little bit.
So what do you think, guys? Do you think it's a reset button?
After they lose to the U.S., he will be gone.
You think he'll be gone?
I mean, there's a minimum amount of points that he has to. I think 2 points is the absolute minimum that he can collect for him to keep his job. But if he doesn't get 2 points, then they'll.
Oh, that's the question.
I mean, honestly,
I'm not even sure 2 is going to do it, John. I think 2 would do it because that would mean a tie with the U.S. But even 3, just assuming the 3 against Panama. I think that losing against the U.S. might be enough. I think still might be enough still to get him fired.
Yeah, but would they be stupid enough to fire him and then 3 days later go down to Panama with an interim so that they lose that game too?
Oh, it's been done. I mean,
I know it's been done, but
I could see him losing both, losing to the U.S. and losing to Panama. This Panama team wasn't their full team. When they go down there, it's going to be tough.
Well, I do agree that this schedule absolutely doesn't favor Osorio. It's actually probably a nightmare scenario for him. But if he can pull through,
Really? So honestly, if it was a nightmare scenario, right? And this is a guy who's had a team for a year, correct? And they really haven't haven't coagulated around any kind of style that he's trying to get the team to. You would think then, if all of these things were the case, that he would want as much time as possible to play with the players he's going to play with. Like I said, in the games in the most important games of his coaching career, which are coming up, his job is on the line. Then why wouldn't he do to at least give himself the best chance to get a decent result out of those games? Says, you know what? Maybe 2 or 3 guys out of this group that I call is going to be in Columbus. Great.
When have they actually, in friendlies in the U.S., brought the whole European teams? It's hardly ever done. It's
they're not.
For Osorio.
What I'm saying, look, I mean, the only teams they could play were Oceania teams or CONCACAF teams because everyone else was playing qualifiers. Asia, Africa, Europe, South America are all playing qualifiers.
So this was the perfect chance.
Exactly. So I mean, play the. If you're forced to play in the U.S., then play them on the East. Play them in New York. On the East Coast, so that your guys from Europe don't have a 20. They just have a flight instead of a 20-hour flight.
Yeah, and this is something that Carlos Albert has been saying, and I'm agreeing with him. Sometimes he'll spaz out, but he's been saying that la selección está jodido and all this stuff, and it's the truth because they're not getting chemistry going on. They're not getting all these players that are actually going to be there in November.
Miraculously, who were the players, at least in this game, that showed the most chemistry? Played with each other before.
That was the point I was going to make, John. I don't think there's chemistry to be made. These guys they're going to either play well or they're not. I mean, I understand that we could guess and speculate as to why they're not playing like a cohesive unit, but these guys know each other. I don't think an extra friendly against Panama or New Zealand is going to make a whole hell of a difference.
Yeah, but I mean, I understand, but I mean, they obviously haven't figured out the, whatever his coaching philosophy is, or whatever style of play that he feels gives them.
And you know what?
Just
that's
the
on
style
the
of play
players.
that he wants.
And ultimately, it's still on Osorio because he picked those players that didn't get his system. But that's the reason why he's trying them out. He tried like 60 players. So I'm hoping, then, like you said, this is gonna be like a final.
But is it even a style though? Like I keep hearing him talk, and it just says like he's going at each game differently, completely differently and it seems like his focus is really just revolves around lining up his team to counter what the other team wants to do.
Yeah, I think he gets too specific. Like he'll identify a player on the opposing team and say, "Oh, he's excels at this, so we need Yasser Corona to guard him." And this other player over there, he's left-footed, so we need to move Chucky on the right or left. And that's why all these changes occur.
And I don't think he's necessarily thinks it's bad, like if they're not able to string those 2 passes together. I think for some reason it just seems like it's not the priority for him to play pretty or to look.
And honestly, playing teams like Panama, you're not gonna play pretty, man. Those teams are gonna bunker. They're gonna pressure you even desde la salida.
But they look poor against New Zealand too, though.
Well, that's also a bunker team. That's what these 2 opponents to me
was perfect. But you know what? You have to. I mean, I'm sorry, but I mean, if you're going to qualify out of this region, you have to learn. You have to learn how to deal with that, and the fact that they're bringing in another coach who has no idea, as if they've never seen it before in their life, how to figure that out is just baffling to me. I mean, why not get guys that are used to a plan to figure out how to defeat this defense that seems to only show up in San Pedro Sula or or in Panama that Mexico just can never defeat because all 10 men behind the midfield striker.
I think we've seen. I do think that he's waiting for the individual talent. I think to break the bunker. I think that's his approach. For bunkering teams, he's gonna roll the dice, be conservative, and then just hope that Tecatito or somebody else is able to create something out of nothing and take the points that way.
Actually, Dan, I have to kind of disagree on that because, and it's funny you mentioned that because a while back I posted, I kind of gave a reason why I was in favor of La Volpe going back to America and me not being really liking to the new breeds of coaching. No, meaning I'm not liking the trend of the coaches relying more on systems as opposed to on players.
Spit it out, man.
Spit it out, dude.
And for me, Osorio is all about the system and not necessarily the players. At least that's the impression that I have of him. That he relies it on the system, and
so your basis of comparison is like Mr. System.
Well, it's, and I said it before. I mean,
sistema de fútbol no cabe un 10, entonces por eso no voy a llevar a Panama al mundial.
He's like too tactical and too blue pen, red pen.
La Volpe's always been a very, he's always. I mean, I remember Pasarela talking. He gave an anecdote once about how studious La Volpe was, that they were having a conversation, and I think they were in the airport or something like that. And
was he between jobs?
No. But
sure.
So, then they saw each other I don't know how many weeks after that. And it
just after he didn't win another championship?
I don't remember when. I think I read this on Gráficos.
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes.
No, but I'm just saying that I don't see Osorio relying on that. You know how that what's that? What Maradona pendiente or Cuauhtémoc pendiente or like that? Where they use the pen on a player. I don't see Osorio being that type of coach, or he relies on players.
Well, here's the thing, and the reason I'm going back at games like against Honduras, the qualifier against Honduras, where they weren't really creating many chances at all. He puts in Tecatito, I think, in the second half, and then he gets an amazing goal or whatever, and it just seems like on a lot of the games, like it seemed like especially in that game, his focus was, he didn't want to be vulnerable on set pieces. He wanted to make sure that they were set up well and disciplined, and so that they don't give up any chances. And then he throws in Tecatito, and the guy just literally single-handedly gets the goal. And it just seems like where if Mexico has that ability, and I think he sees that he's got a couple players that can do that for him, he might. At least I think in some of the games it looks like he has relied on that. Maybe not in all of them, but in some of them it looks like he's like, all right, I got this ace right here in my pocket, and I'm just going to break it out when I'm ready. If the team is struggling.
He also relies on players, like if Yasser Corona's in and they make a mistake, he'll say, "Oh, it wasn't the team, or it wasn't the tactics, or it wasn't the setup. It was an individual mistake." So he'll rely on the players as excuses for letting a goal get scored or for screwing up.
Yeah, any coach that uses the players and excuses is just a bad coach. I'm sorry, but
he's done it plenty of times. Specifically with Yasser.
Well, I think that that there's a long, I would tell Osorio to get in line for coaches that blame Yasser Corona for losses, but that's not really sure why he's been called up. But okay, so overall in these two games, okay, Osorio said that there were maybe 2 or 3 guys that are going to be able to enough to play or to even be called up in Columbus. I'm pretty sure I know who one of them is. Who were the other 2?
Oribe. I'm not sure.
Right.
I'm not sure if that was your obvious one, but to me
the obvious one is Pern's favorite, Giovanni Dos Santos.
Okay, that's what I thought he was referring to.
I mean, why did he ever not play for a year? I mean, seriously.
Because he retired.
That is.
No, they got rustled.
No, well, that is part of it. I mean, ultimately, I think politics had played the biggest role.
I think Orbelin might have a chance.
Yeah, I think there's more than 2 or 3. Honestly, I mean, if breaking the bunker, so to speak, is so important, then he needs guys with good individual ball skill, and those guys are the.
Who was the guy that was playing on the left on against New Zealand?
Gallardo?
Yeah,
he was good.
Yeah, okay.
I think he may have a shot.
So green and raw that I don't think he knows. He was just playing like he wasn't thinking, which is probably a good thing.
He's too new. He's not gonna.
He's a little too green. He's not ripe yet.
Chucky, obviously, he's part of it. But as far as starting, I don't know. I don't know if any of those guys will start.
He left. I like Brizuela, how he's been playing in Chivas, but he took him out and he left Orbelin in. So I want to say Orbelin has the upper hand.
Well, Giovanni played 90 minutes both games, right?
Yeah.
And that's pretty rare for especially with Osorio.
Do you guys remember when Piojo took over the team and he initially, I think his first initial comments were like somewhere along the lines of he sees like there was no big difference between the European-based players, but I think he changed his tune dramatically once he actually got them all in.
To the next.
Yeah.
Had
him called him in, and he's just like, okay, yeah. These guys. I think ultimately any coach that sees Gio in practice is probably going to come to the same realization.
It was he was like, remember he was going to have Negro Medina and Hulit and Chapo Montes were going to be his starting midfield in the World Cup. Think about
and it took all of one practice, right?
Pretty much.
What, guys?
Luckily or unluckily, Negro Medina did get injured before.
Yeah.
Joel.
I don't think he was going to go with the whole America squad. Like, I don't think he was going to leave out all the European-based players.
Well, to me, I guess it was more
because
interesting the fact that like seeing him in practice was like, okay, these guys are clearly better than what I'm used to seeing in the league week in and week out.
But see, these guys had already they had already reached the conclusion that the team's motivation was broken because you had 3 different coaches where the same top players had meltdowns. So they did it against the U.S. and then they did it again in Costa Rica with. So they did it under Chepo Tena and then Vucetich. So the whole thing was like, these guys might do it again if things get tricky against New Zealand. So let's just bring in America that's been playing together, and we have the coach, and we could be New Zealand, and then we'll slowly bring some of these guys back in.
But he didn't bring any of them slowly. They were all back.
Yeah, I mean he had the call up in March, and they played Nigeria in Atlanta, and it was a 0-0 game. But Guardado and Herrera, all those guys played, and and Herrera really hadn't, because it was the first time, it was the only fecha FIFA available to him. So yeah, I mean by the time that it was pretty obvious to him that But okay, so we're thinking Giovanni is going to get called up. At least we hope. Likelihood, obviously, Lozano and Pineda. Then
Yeah, I got a question. I got a question on Chucky Lozano. Even he made the pass to Gio that led to the goal and all that, and then a few minutes later he screws up the play where he could have passed to Oribe. And I saw a comment on Twitter saying that he's going to be the next Cesar Villaluz, Luis Angel Landin. What do you guys think of that, man?
Really, a bit exaggerated.
Yes, that's a bit harsh. And Villaluz didn't have such a terrible career. But I think there could be worse career paths to be taken than
it's interesting that you guys bring up a guy like Chucky in the bunker, because what did Chucky do to get himself open for both of those plays?
Someone stole the ball and then he grabbed it and ran with it.
And yeah, but how did he run? How did he
on a
attack
diagonal?
the field? Exactly. In the last Gold Cup, I remember Tomas Boy saying, "You want to beat this defense, you have to run diagonally," and like they do it. Time it was incredibly successful, and he's like, he's just pulling his hair out. He's like, I don't understand why they don't see this. Why they don't understand why this is the only way, because when you run like that, it changes the space in the defender. If you go right at him, but if you run at an angle, then they have. Am I going to get him, or is the guy next to me going to? It's just changes their point of attack, and it's very successful. It's a very effective way to do that. And he does it twice. They get a goal on one, and there was another one where he passed it. And who knows what would have happened? But I mean, it was all. So yes, they can beat the bunker. If there are many ways to do it, it's not just individual talent. Certainly one of them. And if it's just frustrating to me that this team for a year, and you watch and it was like watching them when they were slumping with Chepo. They just have no idea. They have no idea what to do. And the only guy that did, and I know, Fernando, this is going to bother you, but the only guy that had any kind of spark was Giovanni, and it was very obvious. As the other guys they just don't see.
You want to see. I'm going to draw some parallels on past coaches that knew the axe was coming. Remember Hugo Sanchez? He didn't want to cap Guille Franco because he was naturalizado y que no sé qué. But right towards the end, when he knew the end was coming, he decided to cap him. And I don't know. I guess I'm seeing the same parallel here with Osorio. He didn't bring in Gio, and all of a sudden he brought him in. Got some good results, but I don't know. I'm seeing the writing on the wall.
So you think that Osorio's gone before the end of the year?
I think if he doesn't get good results in these two next games, yeah, he will, for sure. The press already laid out the groundwork, like I was telling you guys earlier. They already did the Bora Milutinovic job, where they just, even though he has a really great record, probably one of the best records national team coach in the recent memory has had.
Fernando, he's been playing St. Vincent and the Grenadines, dude.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
Pern is easy to impress.
He's having a great
Only
record.
he was a girl.
In danger of losing his job, that's just disgraceful. They're just like Bora Milutinovic back in '97, qualified Mexico to the World Cup, but still got fired. So I have a feeling that if he doesn't get a good result here in November, it's gonna be the end of him.
So you're saying you wouldn't start him against the U.S.?
I wouldn't what?
You wouldn't start him against the U.S.?
Who, Gio?
Yes.
No, I wouldn't. We have better players in his position.
Who?
Well, we got Tecatito. We got Chucky.
Who's been injured for the past 2 months and hasn't played in.
Well, a month can be a long time for a soccer player. They can get back in, and a lot can happen within a month. So, you maybe Giovanni will break a
I
nail.
like the idea of Giovanni starting. I just don't like the idea of forcing him to stay on any particular side. I like the just letting him just go wherever he wants, even if it's up to the midfield to help bring the ball up, or wherever he wants to go. I just think what's that?
That's the way he used to play when he was at Villarreal.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine you'd want one of your best players. Why on earth would you want to develop some sort of system that would take advantage of the best qualities of your best players? Why on earth would any coach want to do that? I mean, seriously.
Well, because
if I'm a system guy, it's got to be the system, and the only thing that works is my system, and anything outside of the system is unacceptable, and you're not going to play for me if you don't play my system.
Just playing in MLS, he's
great
not up to par
strategy to have.
He's not up to par to these type of tactics where he can be roaming around.
What up to par are you talking about?
Didn't you just say he's doing that at Villarreal?
He was doing that at Villarreal, but he can't do that anymore because he's at MLS now. He doesn't have the same.
Do what?
I'm not sure. You're gonna sell most people on that logic, Pern, but
well, I'm just saying.
I respectfully disagree.
I think Osorio would do well taking this squad to Columbus. I think this squad would do better than if he took the European-based, the team that crashed against Chile. This is a squad that he should play with.
So you just want him to get fired?
How many Chivas do you think should be on like if Chivas start doing really well?
Good 4, 5.
Be the base of the squad.
Yes. You have to play that song longer. There, Yon.
That's all. I can't do that because then we'll get in trouble with the ASCAP and the BMI. So we gotta keep it short.
But no, he could take at least 4 of them. But I think this squad is a bit more hungry, and I think they would play more balls out. I feel the Euro squad, they already lost. They lost trust in Osorio. He lost that team already. He should just go with this one that played the last 2 games. I honestly feel they would do a better job.
What about in the press conference when Osorio said that the thing that he saw improvement in the Mexican player is their combativeness?
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. He's not getting it with the other squad. I guarantee it.
They're fighting now. They're
So are they complacent?
These guys want to win a spot in the team.
That's how it was with Piojo when he brought in the quote-unquote America squad for New Zealand.
I mean, let's be honest. Let's be honest about the whole America thing. Do you think New Zealand was thrilled when they saw who they were playing in the playoff? I mean, don't you think New Zealand would have much rather played an El Salvador or an Honduras,
a Panama,
instead of Mexico, because they knew they were going to get throttled. I mean, Piojo. Piojo could have sent Dorados and they would have won 5-0. That's, as Raúl Orbañano says, esa es la realidad. It's just that, I mean, he didn't. No, Piojo did those guys a favor because he's like, I'm not going to have you guys travel halfway across the world twice to play a game that I know we're going to win. So I'll just take these guys. Don't even worry about it. It was
still a ballsy move though.
Well,
it was really the right against conventional
things. He needed guys with familiarity, and there was because it was what Javier Aguirre did when he came in 2001. What team is playing the best? Oh, Cruz Azul
and Pachuca.
As many Cruz Azul guys as I can. Team, and I'll sprinkle in some guys here and there. I sprinkled in Borghetti and Cabrito, and that was the team. Everyone else were cementeros. So, I mean, if it's just, I mean, I don't have the confidence that bringing on, Chicharito is going to come and Herrera is going to come and all these guys are going to come. Yeah, it's you know, I mean, I think that those guys aren't necessarily not hungry. I just big fans of the coach.
I think they'd also benefit from some competition.
They would, just like anybody does. But I mean, honestly,
Like,
out of the
go ahead and call him up, and don't start him. Play somebody else.
but he's not going to start him anyway because he has that stupid rotación. I mean, the team that plays in Columbus is going to be different than the team that plays in Panama. I mean, that's
That's
insane.
true.
That is
That's
absolutely insane.
That's revolutionary. That's just the new way that football is played now.
It's only going to be revolutionary if he wins a World Cup. Yeah, if he wins a World Cup, then you know what? I'll be like, you know what? You were right, man.
Well,
This-
you know
this-
what? Then
this
it makes
is
sense
gonna
to
change
withhold
things.
judgment until then, right?
And he failed to win the Copa America with.
And if it was a total
Yeah,
jacked up system, like John was saying right now,
a home
I
team.
believe.
I
believe-
if he doesn't, if he goes to the World Cup, if he makes it that far, he doesn't get fired. And wins.
It's a big if, yeah.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, his system sucks. It was proven that it was horrible. It was failure. But right now, you guys are already making an assumption that it's terrible when it's like you said, going by your parameter that you set, it has not been proven.
Well, no. And actually, what I was going to say is that what I think most of us agreed on was when he first got hired a year ago is that some of the tests that we was going to have. The first one was Honduras, which ended up not being as much of a test to most of us, I guess.
That's so ridiculous.
I'm just trying.
And
to,
then he
I'm
let
just
him
trying
off
to-
the hook.
I'm
He
trying
let
to
him off the
recap.
hook 6 months later, or however long it was.
Yeah, I'm just trying to
And
give a
let him
recap
qualify for the next round.
of everybody's kind of like opinion, like as it happened, and then the next test was going to be the Copa America, and so for me, in my opinion, he's 1 for 2 of his tests. This next one, I think, should determine whether he should continue or not. But and I do think that the way they're constantly. The way the media is constantly bashing him and like
Laying
basically
him down.
wanting him to leave,
Yes.
I kind of feel that they should have just had. I wish they would have just done it immediately after the game, and then we could have just moved on, let him move on, because
No, the thing is the
I don't
press
think
can't
this is
have
fair
this
to
much
him.
power
So-
over who decides to stay and who decides to leave. That's
Are
ridiculous.
you serious? When the team is owned by a media company and you think that they don't have power?
No, I'm
And
saying
then
it's
he
ridiculous
forgets
that
who
they have
owns the
too much
two
power.
biggest,
I
the
know
two
they have the
biggest press
power.
companies.
I know they have the power, but they shouldn't. That's the thing. The media shouldn't be the ones dictating who's the one who's going to leave or stay. It should be by results. And right now, Osorio has a great record right now.
I would agree with you. Despite the competition aside, the record itself is good, and there's really no
But see, that's the
warranted
whole
reason to be
thing.
fired.
That's the whole thing
Good.
that
Good and terrible.
he was brought in to improve on what we already had built.
And that record is a
And-
huge improvement, right?
And
But
his
that's
biggest,
what every coach has been brought in for.
Wait, hold on. His biggest tournament was the Copa America.
Up to date.
Yeah, so if you gonna demonstrate, what you bring to the table, that was the tournament, and he looked bad in every game. Mexico did not look. Mexico just looked bad every game
Uruguay.
until they find.
They
the only
beat,
thing
they beat Jamaica.
to put it on Prince
they
words.
ended up in the first place.
The only thing Osorio did was find innovative ways for Mexico to get raped. That 7-0 is gonna be right there in the record books, dude.
Well, let me correct you, Joel. You said ways. That's just a way.
That's
was
one way because he only lost one.
Seven different ways, dude.
Now, granted, it was magnificent. I mean, it was. I mean, it's monumental what he did, what he came up with. But it's still. I mean, it's one. So, and here's my thing. Either it's like, and maybe this is a poor analogy, but I kind of like think of it from like a romantic boyfriend girlfriend thing where guy's like, all right, I cheated, I'm sorry. Girl's like, all right, I forgive you. But she brings it up at every given moment. And it's like, all right, well, either you forgive me or you're not. And, they made the decision to keep him So it'd be nice for most of us to just shut up and just, you know what, look. But it's just every game. It's nauseating how much they complain and complain and complain about the rotaciones and this and that. It's like, dude, these are broken records. These are broken records, man. It's like, you know what? The federation made the decision to keep him. So let's just shut up and let the guy let the games play out.
Let him hang himself on his own accord. He doesn't need our help.
Yeah. So say we. What's up, man? Hey, so say we let Pern have his desire, and the press is not influencing. If Osorio loses these next two games, how hard, without looking at the schedule and all that, how hard is it that Mexico still qualifies past the Hex?
They still qualify because they have like three, I believe, 3 games that are at home straight in a row.
Well, they have 5 games at home and they have 5 games on the road.
Yeah.
So the first 2 games are on the road. So out of the 8 remaining games, 5 of them would be at home. In fact, out of the first 3 out of 4 games are actually on the road.
This is literally the hardest part of the Hex. This is going to be literally the most challenging part.
4 out of 6 are at home.
Hey, I guess I overheard some gossip there in the press conference.
Juan?
Oh, he's got gossip, dude.
What flavor? What flavor was the Kool-Aid, Juan? Oh, hang on. I don't have sirenas, but I do have. Hang on.
Buscando 3 patas al pinche gato que no tiene.
That's the best as I can do.
All right, guys. So can I give you my honest review of the game?
Wait, gossip.
Please, yeah. You were Juan Uribe has joined us, ladies and gentlemen. He was in
Pinche Joel,
Bridgeport.
I want the cheese first.
Fuck the game, man. Yeah, give me the cheese man.
Okay,
priorities.
So
no, he should give us the review first, and then give us the cheese man. We need the hook. We need the hook.
I want to see
commercial break.
You know what?
That was a good teaser, though.
You know what you should do, Cheeky, is to say, hey, Juan has inside information. Tune into the show and hear what it is.
All right.
You should tweet that out. We got inside information from Juan Uribe. So give us your report, Juan. But before you give us your report, very very quick question. What flavor was the Kool-Aid at Bridgeport, Illinois?
No. There was no Kool-Aid here. There's no
Kool-Aid. Okay. No, he did drink the Kool-Aid. All right, fire away. Give us your review.
You know what though? There was lemonade, and I think there was some kind of unsweetened tea and water. So me and tea, unsweetened tea, I just don't do that. Well, here's after watching this team play here live and seeing what he's asking these players to do or what they're doing on the field, there's just they're not able to establish any kind of passing rhythm, and that's definitely making these players look bad.
What is he asking the players to do that is so difficult for them to conceptualize and then perform it?
Do their job. That's
well, check this out. In the first half, what I noticed is they were trying to brincar líneas. Basically, the players in the back, starting from the keeper and the 2 backline players, Marin and Ayala. They were trying to play his famous diagonal balls to both Gio and Brizuela, and they weren't really successful. The first 20 minutes or so. You could probably see it live on TV. And so what they ended up trying to do was something interesting that, and I didn't get a chance to ask him about this, was within his 4-3-3 you had on the right flank you had Pineda, Gio, and Jordan Silva, and they were basically rotating positions. And so you had some kind of link there, which is within the 4-3-3. That's something that is known that you can do, and so it was just interesting to see it develop, and that started creating danger, and it was creating spaces for them on the right, which they weren't able to take advantage. And then on the left, something similar was happening between Aldrete, Brizuela, and Guti. And so I think that's why Brizuela was able to create the danger. You notice the last 10 minutes maybe you started seeing Brizuela start to attacking more down the left and creating and basically unbalancing the Panamanian defense. So going into halftime, the left flank is really operating well, and then guess what he does coming out, which to me is the most hilarious part is he subs out Brizuela and he subs out Jordan Silva. So that connection you started seeing with those players, it pretty much disappeared, and so he brought in Chucky. He moved Gio to the left. So even though he only brought on 2 players, he really did like 3 changes, and that's really that. I think within a soccer team, you're giving a team whatever they're building. You just tear it apart when you introduce 3 changes total. And I'm not sure what exactly he's trying to set. What exactly he was trying to get working with that, because then towards the end of the second half, he had Gio, he introduced Gallardo. He moved Gio to center mid. He took out Pineda, and then he put Chucky on the left hand, on the left wing.
But it worked though, man. It worked because the subs ended up scoring a goal.
No, well. I don't think it worked because I don't think where Dueñas, he played a ball to Chucky, and Chucky.
What is his fascination with Dueñas? I mean, doesn't Mexico have better midfielders than Dueñas? Honestly.
Well, he played him at right back. Good. I think he has him there because he can play 2 or 3.
Fernando, Dueñas is a Tigres man. How on earth could you even utter those words?
I have a question for Juan.
I look past club rivalries.
Hey,
Juan, wait.
Dueñas is there because he's a multi-positional player, is what I think.
Multi-positional.
That's fine, but he's not a very good one.
No, but I think Chucky worked because he.
You still want to show me your cucumber?
I think Chucky showed up. He kind of did what he wanted within Osorio's system, so I don't think he was working within the system when that goal came along. It was kind of like, it was more like Chucky doing his Chucky thing,
Juan, how much do you think Mexico's goal came right after Panama made 3 changes? Do you think that helped?
I think that definitely hurt Panama. That definitely helped Mexico. I mean, anytime you introduce 3 changes, look, this happens all across the U.S. Within youth soccer. And you see coaches that don't know that they kind of just introduce changes for the hell of it, to give people playing time, and that kind of.
Although say because I've heard how they say if you make a cambio during a free kick or a corner kick, you could hurt your team right there.
Well, yeah. The kind of the saying goes is you don't want to do a sub during a corner or any type of situation where you're defending. Like you want to wait till a goal kick usually is or some kind of throw in is usually where you want to do it. Well, a goal kick's like ideal, I think, because you set up the team
right before they put the chant.
Yeah, which is alive and kicking. So is Pern is the PVA and those guys are gonna take
a little later. We'll get to it a little later. Now, before we move on, however,
what was the cheese man?
You got to give us the cheese man.
Okay, so dude, there's 2 cheese mans. You guys probably aren't surprised by them, but I was surprised to hear them confirmed. The first one was I think this individual, I don't know who he is, but he looked like Baños. He was wearing the Mexican Federation gear that they all wear. He was talking to another gentleman, and they were saying something about Fabián se regresó pedo, which to me.
Oh man!
It's okay though. It's a long flight.
Yeah.
But I think that's why he did it. I don't know what it was, but I guess that's why they. Why did he go home early?
No, he sent him. Osorio said he served his purpose and that he wants to send him back home so he can play on the weekend.
No, I also said that was the deal with
Frankfurt.
Yeah, with Frankfurt, that was a deal, just 1 game.
Hey, you know what? Honestly, I mean that's a long ass flight. I'd probably want to get tanked too.
Yeah, but the question is, maybe he was drunk right after the game, and partying it up. And
he was drunk during the game.
He honestly scored a great goal. He scored a great goal.
Yeah, that earned him a couple shots.
And I think Osorio, he did like him. He saw his Gio and Fabian as kind of being equal as far as what they bring to the team in the presser.
I think Marco Fabián personally has a little bit more versatility than Giovanni, just because he can manage both right and left foot, and I think he has a little bit better ball control. But that's
You know
that's
why?
just me.
Because he plays in Europe.
You think he uses both hands to when he's drinking? He takes a shot with
Hope
his
he
left.
uses. I hope he uses two hands and then sucks tequila out of his date's belly button.
Oh man.
And the other cheese man.
Well,
First.
I don't know. I heard it in the presser room, which what it was that Osorio and Decio are feuding. That's the rumor that I heard, that there's a feud, that they're fighting each other, and that pretty much Osorio's days are numbered, and that's one of the causes that Decio's he's so obviously what it sounds like is Decio doesn't call the shots within Federation, and I'm sure the owners, isn't it rumored the TV stations really run the show, and but
I don't think it's a rumor.
okay, well. Well, yeah, but the rumor is that Decio and Osorio are feuding, and so I think that probably adds to this. If he's feuding with Decio, if he's feuding with a couple players, if he's not able to translate to the players what he really wants on the field, and and then add to that he's not getting the results that maybe. Now, I'm gonna send this video to Beto so he can post it, but. There was a question made to Osorio where they asked him, "Hey, Profe, you've been with Mexico for a year. You've given us several games," and he goes, "And you've given us the best 60 minutes that we have seen so far is that Uruguay game in Copa America. Besides that, you haven't really the team hasn't really clicked the way it should click, and we haven't seen the soccer that we want to see, the football that we want to see. So what do you attribute that to, or what do you think happened in that game that hasn't happened in other games?" And Osorio, he answered this question, and he indirectly admitted that's true. That the team looked the best in that game for a short period, in his whole 1 year tenure. So to me, that was interesting as well to hearing him admit. And now I'm wondering if he's gonna get hung by the press or by, within the federation for that.
Do you think that Osorio and Decio are fighting because Osorio has a more ridiculous amount of facial hair than Decio de Maria?
You know what, man? At this point, it could be anything, man. It might be maybe one of the, maybe Osorio's getting more camera time now.
Who do you think has more like long hairs in their ear? Decio de Maria or Ricardo Osorio?
Oh, I think Justino Compean takes that one.
Really? So you're saying that Justino has like cotton balls in his ears? It's so thick.
Yeah, man, I think so.
Hey, well, what do you think of? I think on the Mexican Soccer Show, they started talking about that the federation is setting up Herrera to come back.
That's old news, man. We mentioned it here too. One of this was months ago. One of the first guys I was talking about this was from Jorge Ramos y su banda, was Hernan Pereira. He was one of the first to mention this, and he said it months ago. He was talking about how Piojo was the front runner to go to Cruz Azul, and he said that they approached him and they told him, you know what, don't take the job, take it. They told him to go to TJ instead, and then ultimately they were going to bring him back. And not too long ago, I don't know if it was with ESPN, he did an interview, Piojo, and they asked him about the problem with Martinoli, and he said that it's now behind him. It's in that he was talking about how they broadcast Tijuana games. So I do agree with that.
That's messed up, man. They're doing it like Chivas did.
One more thing I didn't mention to you guys because I don't know what went down, but I didn't really want to speak about it. But I saw Tom Marshall slip Osorio a note, hooked up. So I thought, and I'm wondering now what was contained within that note Tom Marshall, the ESPN guy at the Mexican soccer show. He had maybe it was like one of those folded up notes, like, "Hey, do you like me? Yes, no." You know?
Yeah.
I would do that.
Check this box. Check one of the boxes.
Yeah, that's that's probably what it was, because Tom Marshall was sitting in the front row and he seemed to be winking at him a lot.
Oh.
Well, there's
more cheese, man. This is great.
Now, let me ask you this, Juan. When you walked into the press box, how suffocating was the smell of cologne?
It smelled like mothballs for some reason. I don't know. You know what? Everything here in Chicago, every place that has an indoor ventilation, it smells like mothballs. I don't know what it is, man. I don't know if it's like maybe that's why Albert Campa, Chiquis, didn't he used to live in Chicago? Maybe that's why he moved out. Is that mothball smell everywhere.
Maybe it's old buildings.
How far is the stadium? Did you fly into O'Hare or in the Midway?
No, I flew into O'Hare, but the stadium's in Midway, so I couldn't find any.
So it took you like 2.5 hours to get to the O'Hare.
No. I'm actually. It's funny, John. This has tripped me up because, so I flew into O'Hare, but I'm staying in Midway or Bridge. Yeah, the city that I'm staying in is Midway, the hotel. And I guess, but there's also there's an airport like 5 minutes away from me, and the stadium's only like 20 minutes away. So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I was in Chicago. I guess it was last summer, and we had to drive over we were going to South Bend, which is only 60 miles away, and it took us almost 3 hours because the traffic in Chicago was so bad.
Oh, man, that downtown traffic was horrible. This morning I drove by Soldier Field, and I went, I did some family time stuff, but I drove by Soldier Field, and I was impressed actually at the architecture of that stadium. And then I come to Toyota Park and I compare, and I'm like, you know what, this country, I don't think soccer is gonna really be as big as maybe the MLS guys would like it to be, or for them to be a competitive, worldwide, to have the resources to be one of the top leagues. Because if you just look at these cities, the Soccer Pacific Stadium, I think it's a capacity of like 20,000. They didn't tell us the capacity, but I don't think it's that big. And you look at Soldier Field, the capacity in that one's like 80,000 or something like that.
Yeah, Soldier Field has like 70 or so. Okay. Soldier Field is really cool because it's right on the lake.
Yeah.
Very pretty. It's a cool little stadium.
It's a beautiful stadium, and you come to Toyota Park, and it doesn't live up to what Soldier Field has,
Juan, I had a question for you too, as far as the game goes. Or I heard they made an announcement saying that they were prohibiting the use of certain words.
Oh, well, yeah.
Did you see anybody get kicked out?
No, I didn't see. You know what? I didn't pay attention to that. I don't think anybody got kicked out, but there's no way they're gonna kick out the whole stadium, man. Because every time the goal, I don't know if you guys were able to, if you guys watched the telecast, if they, how sometimes they beep out certain words or they remove them, but the whole stadium was chanting. They were doing the puto chant, and there was the both national teams made a speech before the game about homophobic chants and racial chants and different things,
which only made the crowd say it louder.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, that's and so I think U.S. Soccer.
Were you offended?
Well, for my friend Ronnie, I was, because I know how sensitive he is about his situation.
Hey, but they on the broadcast, on the Univision broadcast, they said, but the words that they said in the pregame was homophobic, and the puto chant isn't homophobic. And then Pedro Bermudez also mentioned Joel's avatar, Miming Pinguin. I don't know what he was talking about.
Well, it's very obvious what he's talking about. Pedro Bermudez is obviously an avid listener of the show.
Yeah, you know what?
I mean, Pinguin.
And
That's
you
what
know
he
what?
reminded of.
He did talk about Penguin in reference to Chivas.
Yeah,
They're
he did
talking
say it
about
during the broadcast. Actually, I heard it. I was gonna say something. Hey, Robert Bruce just said Penguin, and I'm like, everybody knows that's not racist. Or every Mexican.
You know, I'm pretty sure these guys into it. I mean, look, I ran into the Weasel, Weasel, and Caesar from the Mexican Soccer Show, and they knew who Dos a Cero podcast was. They're like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
You know what? They said that when they went to Philadelphia, that they tried to hit up Ronnie for some free guacamole, and that he was a no-show.
Oh,
That's not surprising.
Hey,
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Ronnie could just be like
Well,
the
who the
Depeche
hell are
Mode.
they?
Does-
Who they
does
want
Ronnie-
to
Some
get
dude will
I
take
was
free
on
guacamole?
the field. Okay, I was on the field.
Does Ronnie's truck have an English only sign?
Ronnie's like the HAL 9000. It's just the voice.
He's
See,
charged.
for you young listeners, that was a reference to 2001: The Space Odyssey. For you, don't know.
Young whippersnappers.
So this whole puto chant thing, the FMF last week appealed the sanctions that FIFA has levied onto them. There's a protocol, obviously, like, okay, the first offense is this. I think they're on the out of like the 5 list, the 5 things you can't do. They're like on number 3. It's going to be a matter of time before that they're gonna get sanctioned to playing in front of an empty stadium,
What are
or be banned from playing in a stadium.
What are they trying to
So
argue that they? What's their argument?
Their argument is that it's not
The
a
connotation.
homophobic chant.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean, which, frankly, that may be so. But the problem is that it doesn't matter what they think. It's what FIFA thinks.
No, John. Now you have to explain that the gist of their argument, if the summary was, look, putos, los gays no son putos. Puto, el que le vaya a la América. That's
What do you mean?
Hoy mira la águila que llega.
That is a very valid point.
That was brilliant.
Is that the FMF knows that they have a better chance of winning the appeal than to actually stopping the people from yelling.
Estás crecido, Juan. Estás crecido.
So what about when a referee makes a bad call and the fans start yelling "culero, culero"? Now, I used to be a referee, so I find that highly offensive, and I think they need to start being fined for using that word.
I used to know, Christy, that in the winter, the fields would get really, like anywhere else, they get really dusty. So he'd do the first half in his contacts, and if it got too dusty, then at halftime he would go. He did this on purpose every time. He would go and then change out his contacts and put glasses on and come back to the field with glasses. So, it was hilarious. But anyway, so I mean, in all honesty, FMF, because again they can't stop the chant, so they're trying to pretend. Appeal rather that it's not you, it's it's not what you think at all. This is what we mean when we say it, blah blah blah. No chance. They have no chance of doing either. So I think for Mexico fans, it's you better brace yourself for the fact that the third game or maybe the fourth game is going to be Panama. Their fourth home game would be the one that I'm sorry, it wouldn't be against Panama. It would be against it would be against I think either the
Ticos.
The Ticos is the first one, and then Honduras is the second. So U.S. would be the third. Panama, yeah, it would be Panama. It would be Panama as the fourth one. Third one. So one of those are going to play in an empty stadium.
It might be to their benefit if they play Panama or if they play Panama in an empty stadium. I think because
So what was the size difference between the Panamanian players and the Mexican players?
You know what? Other than Jordan Silva, I thought that
he didn't go into the locker room, John. Or did you have access?
No locker room talk.
Yeah.
Locker room talk.
Did you not cover Bolillo Gomez's press conference, Juan?
I guess I
Mixta?
no, I didn't go to Zona Mixta. I went to the press conference room, and I only saw Osorio's for some reason. I think they might have had a different room for Bolillo.
Did he recognize you?
Who, Osorio?
Yeah.
No, but you know what?
No.
I almost got a question in Israel. The press officer, Israel, he looked at me and he's all like, you know what, dude, we're done. Like, you would have been next, but we're done. And I was like,
What were you gonna ask, Juwan?
Well, actually, I wanted to ask Osorio why he subbed out Brizuela. What did he see? Actually, Weasel from the Mexican Soccer Show, he was very cool. He gave me some pointers on how to frame my question so that it was I got a good response. And so I had a game plan going in that I just wanted to find out what it was with Brizuela and with Jordan Silva that he saw that they needed to be subbed out because from what I saw going towards halftime, those players, especially Brizuela, he was creating danger. He was sitting in crosses. I mean, you saw that shot that I think it was Gio that smashed it on the goalie's face, or was that in the second half?
No, that was Giovanni.
Yeah,
in
right.
The first half. It was their only shot on goal in the first half.
Yeah,
42 minutes in.
Yeah, and I think there was another cross that that maybe Cepillo didn't get to. So I wanted to find out. I wanted to find out that, and then I wanted to ask him because I've read in circles that since 2013, what Mexico has really struggled with is bringing the ball out of the back under control to find a midfielder, to link the defense and the forwards. So I wanted to ask him, one, if he shared that opinion or did he see it the same way, and two, how specifically was he trying to solve that, or was it personnel, or was it like that long diagonal to start opening space in midfield? Is that because I didn't get to ask my question, but that was my question for him.
Well, one day. Well, you know what? Actually, unless you go to Columbus, you're probably not going to get a chance to ask him.
Yeah, well, you know what? Maybe once he comes back to LS, I'm sure I'll see him.
Or he will end up coaching at Arizona United because he has. I hear he has a big following in Arizona. So maybe he'll end up there.
I think Juwan is I think he will be going to Columbus with Chiquis, right?
I applied. Chiquis applied. We both applied together. You know what? Soccer Chronicle has some pull, man. I got the best seats. Like if you look at I don't want to call out people, but I had a better chair than Weasel. He was like, to his left was a wall. There was a wall to his left. He had to like stick out his head to be able to see. Like, poor guy. So I think Ronnie, whatever Ronnie did in the past is definitely
He sends Quack to the press officers.
You still want to show me your cucumber?
Guacamole, dude.
Oh, that's what it is.
The guacamole gift baskets.
That
is a very naughty boy.
So ultimately, Juan, your experience then with the press, did you get all googly when you saw Fernando Schwartz, or is that just me?
Yeah, I think that's just you, man. I didn't even notice that guy. Isn't he like that's Dr. Schwartz, right? I didn't see him, dude. I don't know. Maybe he's kind of a short person, right? So
No, he's pretty big.
Fernando Schwartz? No, he's very
There
short.
you go again, Chiquis.
Oh, I thought you meant.
He's like a hobbit, isn't he? The hobbitsis.
Yeah, he's not that small, but he is.
It's not Man
definitely-
Crush Mondays, Chiquis.
Yeah.
I thought you meant the other guy that was on.
Stop it with the locker room talk, Chiquis.
I thought you meant the other guy that was on Domingo, whatever it's called, with the senadoras and all that. No, he's the one that Tim Howard got mad at for speaking Spanish during the Gold Cup final.
Fernando Fiore.
Fiore, yeah.
Oh, that guy got mad at
That dude's big.
mad at me during the World Cup. Ooh.
Yeah, I think
That's kind of harshly. I feel bad about that.
Fiore doesn't go to the locker rooms, does he? He's just like a studio guy.
Yeah, he's now on Fox.
Well, they hang around like also that other player. You'll see them around like in the mix zone or in the press conference. Like Fiore I've seen, and then what's that other guy?
Rodolfo, your buddy Rodolfo Landeros.
No, not him, but a player. He's a player. He's a former player. I forget his name. Campos.
So
Yeah,
are
Campos.
there any new social media phenomena that we should be aware of? Chiquis, since you follow the players diligently.
I posted a couple of Man Crush Monday pics earlier this week.
Well, I just got this tweet from Juwan's best friend Tom. It says Juan Carlos Osorio confirming that Imanol Ibarrondo will be working with the national team. He's a type of mental coach.
That was from last
Oh
week.
yes, they asked him. They asked him
Last
about
week.
this guy.
Yeah,
No, it's today, wait.
I know, but that was they said that from last week.
No, but
Is
this
Is he a
confirming.
chaman?
This confirming, wait.
Put it in,
Yes.
in the presser. They asked him, "Hey, is this a challenge with the Mexican player that they're mentally, they need like some kind of mental coach or motivator." I'm not exactly. I didn't exactly catch the full what this guy's full role is, but he just said, "Look, this is for any athlete. Any athlete, they have a team. They have a team of people that work with him. They got nutritionists, they got personal trainers, they got coach. So yeah, we're gonna bring in a coach for this particular type of situation, which I think is like a mental motivational thing.
Instead of sending the players to Colombia, they're bringing Colombia to the players.
I mean, did it work for Cuba? Really?
Hey, this just confirms to me what we said earlier, that the European-based players have lost faith in Osorio.
Or I don't know, man. It could be that.
That's right, dude. I don't know if you were connected online. I said this team to me would do better. The team that played today and the one that played against New Zealand. To me, if I'm Osorio, I take that squad to Columbus.
But who do you think he's going to take?
The one that you just saw play.
No. Okay, so that's who you want him to take. Who is he really going to take? I guess is my.
Oh no. Yeah, we all know who he has to take because of obviously the sponsor, all the sponsors.
Right, because how many commercials are they gonna shoot before the game?
That defense doesn't impress though today. Marin and Ayala.
Well, does it ever impress? That's the problem.
You know what? Marin wasn't bad coming out of the back with the ball at his feet. I'm guessing that's why he's there. Ayala, his service, his the long balls that he tried to serve up. I thought it was, he was probably one of the worst parts of the team with that. And then I think Marin mentally, some decisions he made, I think they could have been a lot better. So yeah, I agree with Chiquis. Like they were half good and it's like 50-50. With them, it's like a coin toss. They're gonna either make a big brain fart that hurts the team or do their job. Or maybe that's too much of a risk.
But the other side, like Brizuela, Orbelin, Oribe, those guys
there were
are
definitely
solid.
some bright spots.
Yeah, those guys.
There's no question. I mean, there's a lot of depth up front. There's no question. There's strikers. Fielders, they're playing. It's just the defenders where, and unfortunately, he's a mad genius, and he's trying to figure out what the right combination is, or he's like, oh my god, what have I got myself into? I got to figure out which one of these guys play together, and I haven't been able to figure it out yet. Even though it's again, I think everyone is agreement here that has to be points in Columbus in order for him to keep his job, and if rumors that we heard these are extra official, there were not anything that were confirmed. There were just whispers that were heard there at the Toyota Center when maybe when someone was walking to get their fifth glass of free lemonade, and they might have overheard something. So let's that in mind. Let's keep that in mind. So before we wrap it up here, and I think that we've been on for about an hour or so it's a good spot for us to close up the shop very quickly for our listeners. I'm sure dying to know, and of course you could chat with us if you like. We do have someone who says that Brizuela was more effective in the final third. That's from Christian Castro. He's absolutely right. Brizuela was indeed more effective there than some of the other players. But Osorio survived November. I will ask Dan first. Does Osorio survive after November?
I don't think he will.
Does he? Does Osorio survive after November?
Who'd you ask?
The guy who's not
cut
talking.
out. I think he loses to U.S. and he loses to Panama, and everyone gets his wish and he's gone.
Fernando, I'm sorry, Fernando's not with us anymore. Joel, does he last past November?
No, sir, he will not, and I will tell you why. I feel Osorio's more concerned with what the opponent will do than what the national team can do.
Very astute observation, Joel. He's letting the other team. Is he letting the other team impose their will, and he's reacting to it?
But it's like I think Dan brought it up. How he said that if he's gonna play a certain team that has a certain type of player, he'll bring in a player to counter that.
Turn right after 3/4 of a mile.
So it was.
Well, let's hope that you get there.
So I wanted to bring up this quote from Wooden.
So
from John Wooden, and he said, "We had no control over the many possible variations an opponent might use in the game. We did have total control over preparing to execute our game." So I think this is where Osorio fails. He doesn't, he should concentrate more on El Tri and the players he has.
Turn right after 1/4 of a mile.
That's a very well. I mean, anytime we can bring John Wooden quotes into this, it's yeah, and then for any coach not to follow any of that stuff is unfortunate. All the reading that the guys
No, you're right, John.
The pyramid of success.
Exactly, his pyramid of success. The guy never talked about winning. He never talked about winning. It was just like, in fact, all his players even say that. It was never like, oh, you got to win. No, it was like it was everything. Like, the preparation, the practicing. That's all he was about.
Who, John Wooden?
I mean, his
it was philosophy, his coaching philosophy.
Yeah, dude, but the thing is, you're contradicting yourself now because you're saying one of the arguments we had about Landon Donovan, about him not being called up by Jurgen Klinsmann, is that type of player changes your tactics. So either you can't have it both ways. Either you do what you do, or you change your tactics to adapt to the opponent's strength. So now you guys are trying to have it both ways, and in my
No,
opinion,
the Donovan though was
inconsistent. It's inconsistent.
no the
You
whole
go both
Donovan.
ways.
But you're
You go
making
both ways.
the assumption that Jurgen
Pedro.
Klinsmann actually has
Juwan goes
tactics.
both ways, okay?
No, you know what?
You're
Donovan
trying to
though
have
was
it both ways,
personal.
and I think you're not making any sense now. What you're saying is not adding up because you obviously all the great coaches. If you look at the Bielsas, the Peps, those, I mean, well, Bielsa hasn't really
Hans
won.
Westerhoff.
Hans
Westerhoff.
Guardiola. Well, okay, Westerhoff. He was with Chivas. I mean, look at the team that he set up that Chepo took to the 2006 final, and Chepo didn't build that team. That team was built.
Westerhoff didn't build it either.
Somebody else. Yes, he adapted the tactics to something a little simpler because at that point that team was already set up. But look. It's like a simple thing that Osorio says. Hey, if the opponent plays with two forwards, I play with three defenders. I mean, dude, that's
Juwan really has it out for Wooden. I don't know why.
And if you look around, if you look at coaches that follow that philosophy, Guardiola's one of them. Bielsa's. I mean, that idea.
Yeah, but does Guardiola change from one game to the next? Does he make 8 player changes?
Okay.
I mean, one thing is adjusting your tactic. Another one is changing like 8, 9 players.
So are you gonna let me answer the question?
Oh.
Okay.
Oh snap! Shots fired.
So
Juwan is out.
Now we've talked about this, and I was actually talking with one of those guys from Weasel's show with Caesar about this, about how Osorio's a Bielcista, right? He follows Bielsa's philosophy, and he came up with one of the criticisms to Bielsa is that his teams they'll be phenomenal for the first 20 games of the season, and then on the final run, the final stretch, they'll run out of gas. The players are done. They're burnt out, and so Osorio came up with this rotation system to answer that question, to address that issue. But you guys talked about it before, and that was a point you, Jolie, and Ronnie made. I remember them making it where, hey, that's great for a club team where you work every day with these players and week in, week out. You're with them 9 months out of a year or more. But with a national team, you don't have that luxury. You don't have that much time with the players, and so if you're creating chemistry and then you break it, and it was evident at halftime how the last 10 minutes you started to see this chemistry between all the players, and then he makes 2 subs and 3 changes total because there was a positional change for Gio, and it kind of broke the rhythm, and it took the team a while to. In fact, they didn't. It took them 15 minutes, 20 minutes to set up, and the goal wasn't really from his system. It was from kind of Chucky Lozano appearing kind of where he felt he should.
That's the problem with the system, though. I mean, if his system is to go down the flanks and then bring in centers, then he's got the wrong guys doing it.
Yeah, I think I don't think that's his system. I think that's just what he's trying to do is play diagonal balls and they would play the diagonal balls and they would win the secondary balls. I think if Ronnie was watching that, he was probably impressed with that part.
Secondary.
Yeah, the secondary balls.
Hello, BBC.
Mm-hmm.
You heard that?
Damn right.
So Juan, do you believe that Osorio will be around after November?
Look, man. To be honest, I think I've now come to the realization after watching his team play that he's in over his head, and if you look at his press conference, I think the first few they were jovial, he was full of energy, and now the guy looks like, like he's deflated, like he's got no energy, like he looks
Acabado.
He looks like a very sad person right now. And in the beginning he looked very enthusiastic. He's all like, yeah, we're gonna go in there and we're gonna win Virginia. What's that speech that Dr. Dean or Howard Dean gave?
So do you think that when they introduce him, when they play music, they shouldn't play like the Liga MX theme? They should just
Oh yeah.
You're so mean, Joel, for posting that.
I still want to know how he found that. What was his search for?
Yeah, I was searching for Sandstorm. Played on a toy flute.
Don't lie to me. You were looking for the flute something,
Yeah, flute was definitely involved in the search parameters. No question.
I'm convinced.
So you think that he's done then?
Man, I think it's gonna be a sad ending, but I think he's, if he's feeling pressure right now, I think that Columbus game is gonna be, 1,000 times worse pressure wise, and I don't think so. I mean, it doesn't get any easier for him or for the team, going even though going into Columbus, I mean, they're not really expected to win, but he's kind of being given the rope, right? Because the two away games, one from one on the Atlantic Ocean, the other one all the way.
Oh, Juan, while you're on the calendar on, Mexico having to start with 2 away games, and I was listening to an interview with Bolillo Gomez, and he said that Honduras, they have a good calendar, but he said that it was meant for Canada. He said that he said that they got lucky that they ended up qualifying.
Oh, that Canada would have gotten that calendar?
Yeah, and they tried to press him on the issue, but he didn't want to go more into it. But he said that wasn't meant for them because, that plays a big role in qualifying campaign. It's very important. And the calendar, what opponents you get, and in what order. And I think that influences a lot.
Well, can you imagine remember when Vasco 2.0, when Mexico played Costa Rica, I tore them a new one, and then I think then Honduras played them, and it was and they, by that point Costa Rica was done. But it was Mexico, because going into that, Costa Rica was I think in first place, and Mexico was in fourth, and then after that,
right
after that game, all the positions flipped, and then suddenly, Costa Rica was in trouble, even though they had been on top pretty much the whole way through.
And remind the listeners again who was the hero of that game.
It was Cuauhtemoc Blanco, running from box to box, dude.
Yeah, for in a play where he didn't touch the ball.
Yeah, no, well he gave the first pass.
He scored a goal and had 2 amazing assists.
I mean, Giovanni had a great game, no doubt, but the hero was Cuauhtemoc, man. I mean, come on, you had a 70-year-old guy running from box to box. That's amazing.
Yeah, I can't even do that. I get to the halfway mark and that's it, too.
Hey, you know what? I watched that game with Dan, though. I don't know if he remembers. We were at that place with the big soccer crew. I think Joel that time, but he was supposed to go.
So Ronnie, to wrap it up here, you past November?
Nah.
And
No.
so then, and then Miguel becomes the coach again. He was put on probation for a year, and then he comes back.
That's a tough one. I don't know.
I mean, they usually go with the team with the coach who's leading the league. That's been their MO for years.
I know. At one point, La Volpe, Mesa, obviously Chepo had a, he was like the flavor of the month at the
Chepo
time.
was a defending champion, yeah.
Yeah.
So
same thing. I don't know. I think they're gonna go with I think they're gonna try to go with an international coach. To be honest.
Again?
Almeida.
What?
Almeida.
I think so.
You think they'll go with Almeida?
Yeah.
If the international coach, if you just mean by like foreign coach, it'll be Tuca.
I don't think he wants it anymore.
Yeah, knowing that he's only going to do it for a year or whatever it is, I think he'll be all over it. But I do think it's going to be Piojo. In all honesty, I mean, I'd love for it to be Tuca. Sure, it's going to be Piojo.
I mean, he wouldn't be the first coach to get the national team again. La Puente, La Puente had the national team once, didn't do too well, and got it back, and he did well.
Boras had it twice. Vasco Aguirre's had it twice.
Twice, yeah.
How many times Nacho Treyes had it? I'm sure he's had it more than a few times.
Yeah, Nacho Treyes, Cárdenas, So yeah. If I will say this, if La Volpe does win with America, and they have a pretty good showing against Real Madrid, I think that La Volpe could be a contender.
Only lose 5-0 instead of 7-0, then it'll be okay.
No, I think if you meet up with Real Madrid, honestly, I'll be honest. The last two times that America went to the World Cup Championship, and it actually, and if you think about it, it's the same thing this time. This because in 2005, 2006, Carrillo's the one that won the coach, won the league. I'm sorry, it was a different coach because the one that took him was Stena, and then who was it? Matosas, and then it was Piojo, Turco, Matosas. So it's like it would be the same thing this time because the last guy that won the league was Turco, and I'm sorry, Ambriz won the CONCACAF champions. And rather than him going in, it's going to be La Volpe coaching at the World Cup.
I think you just put everybody to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
point being is that if La Volpe can manage not to lose by the exorbitant amount that they've lost to the European teams in the past, then he might have a chance.
Well, no, it was just that one blowout.
I think Mexicans are easy to impress. If La Volpe could lose to Real Madrid looking good, they're going to want him back. Because a lot of people talk about La Volpe now, like some of the games. We lost to Argentina at the World Cup. We lost against Germany.
Game where we only had one shot on goal.
Yeah, but the team looked good, so that was good enough. So, I mean, if we lose, it's almost like the white man can't jump when he's telling what he's telling Wesley Snipes, you'd rather look good and lose than look bad and win, or something along those lines. That's Mexico fans.
I understand. Well, like all of y'all, I do think. I mean, and this was something that I thought even last year when they hired the guy, I just didn't think that he would last the year, and it's going to be pretty. He loses. and struggles in Panama after that, then he'll be done. And if the extra official information we heard this evening is correct, then it looks like it's already been ordained. So it's unfortunate for him. Unfortunate for Mexico. We've said it many times on this show, and in columns we've written and posts we've posted, and the conversations we've had, that Mexico's biggest enemy is not any one rival or country or anything else. It's their biggest enemy is themselves. They never get past themselves in order to do what is needed in order to improve to where they think they belong. And
I think it's the press.
We're seeing this again.
I don't. You think it's the press?
Yep.
Dude, but I don't know, man. I'm not. I used to think that, but after watching this team play, watching Osorio, I think it's him, because there's things there's things that the team does, and then he stops them from doing it, and I don't know, man. I think the guy, he's overthinking it, man.
To me, the biggest problem, at least in my experiences with the Federation, is to put really serious people in charge of very serious positions, and do so, and they have success. When they don't, so I mean, you can't have a coach go from being an assistant to the head of the national team. You can't have a guy whose previous job in the Federation was glorified travel agent be his boss. So it is the worst. It is just a very unfortunate good old boy network. Primos and compas that get gigs instead of people that are qualified, and one day they'll actually put people that are qualified in their positions, and maybe things will improve. But at the rate they're going and have gone, and will continue to go, it's just not going to happen. So,
you know what, John? You know something, John? Something I noticed.
What's that?
90% of the people that work for the Federation in administrative roles, put it this way: everybody that comes out in the camera, on Ronnie's scale, his chart.
Oh, he took it there. Yes,
he took it there.
Tell us.
Yeah.
Enlighten us, Juan.
I think the key word right there was enlighten.
I knew this had something to do with Nacho.
Well, you already said
it. It's not my chart.
All right. It's not my chart.
It's not my chart.
How long did it take you to make it, Ronnie?
We need to get Christian Elbow. Get his results in. His results are in.
So wait, everyone was a certain tone. You noticed there, Juan.
Oh.
Juan, was it the country club crowd? Is that what you're saying?
It's why Almeida's so popular. His golden locks.
Yeah. Did they all have solidarity melenas like Almeida? Were they all wearing sports coat and their shirt with button down to their belly button?
Or those polo shirts? The ones like the one El Barbie was wearing. God, those were hideous.
El Barbie.
The Lacosta with the backwards crocodile or alligator.
That's messed up.
Hey, but so you noticed that in the press box today, and
I noticed it for the Femex employees, and then the ones that don't camera that much, I would say they get a little bit more sun. I don't know, man. Maybe no, I don't know.
That's it. You opened this, Juan. So,
This can of worms.
yeah, you opened it now. Now you gotta follow through, man. Listeners
I
want
think,
to know. The listeners demand to know, man. What?
I think we're gonna have to do like camera little C cameras on pins and belt buckles to get to the bottom of this one.
Yeah, I don't think you'll have to do that much investigation, to be honest with you. So, all right then. Well, I guess that's a good spot as any to wrap up the show here. So we're all in agreement that the next two games will be Osorio's last. Then I think the odds are pretty good that the next coach is either going to be Piojo or Tuca or La Volpe. It's going to be one of those three.
Yeah, I don't think you'll have to do that much investigation, to be honest.
Very apparent. All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you guys for joining us. And again, thanks everyone for listening on this special edition of the Dos Aceros Football Podcast. We're glad to have our full crew with us tonight, at least for at some point during the show. You guys join us. Thanks everybody for listening. For setting all this up again.
Heard out.
Joel, enjoy the rest of your evening. Hope you don't have to go to work anytime soon.
Actually, I do. I leave like in 20 minutes. But I would like a link to this chart that Juwan is talking about. if he could show me where to find it on Google, that would be helpful.
Yeah, the Pantone color charts. It's very helpful. Juan, thank you very much for your insight there in Chicago. I think that this is one of the reasons why we so that we can give the folks the information that they need, and a lot of times the information that we provide for everybody is not whitewashed or hasn't been run through any kind of or anything like that. We just tell it like it is. So thank you, Juan, for being our eyes and ears there in Chicago.
Hey guys, hey, great, good show, guys. It was fun, man. It was interesting. It was fun. It was, it was enlightening.
Indeed, it was. Did you join us? I know it's getting late there on the East Coast, so thanks for sticking around.
Yep.
Well, everybody, thank you again for joining the Dos Aceros Football Podcast. We'll be back with you guys next week. We'll have a lot to talk about, as always, with Liga MX and everything else that happens around the world. I really do wish that Fernando would quit dropping off, because we really want to, dig deep into this.
He had a hot date.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that he had a midnight rendezvous. He'll have to tell us all about it next week on the Dos Aceros. See, another reason for you to tune in next week. Hear about Fernando's
escapades.
Hey, exactly. So we'll find out how that went. All right, everybody. Thank you guys very much for joining us, and we'll see you guys again next week.